Bishop Union High School, home of the Broncos, and one of the few schools in California that was actually slated to open up its campus to students. Welcome back to Inside the Issues. I'm Alex Cohen. Here in California, a couple of rural districts have actually met the threshold set by Governor Gavin Newsom to reopen their campuses. CalMatters education reporter Ricardo Cano has been looking into this, and he joins us now. It is great to have you with us, Ricardo. And you recently wrote a piece, it came out last week in CalMatters, that looked at Bishop High School, which at the time was getting ready to reopen. And then some stuff happened. What exactly happened there in Bishop?
Sure. So pretty much up until earlier this week, the Bishop Unified community in Inyo County was, very set on beginning the school year with some sort of in-person instruction. The school board met for 4 hours, socially distanced, weighing, these agonizing questions and logistics. And there was buy-in from the community. Families, indicated to the district that they wanted their kids to have, some sort of in-person instruction component. But it's a Bishop Unified situation is kind of emblematic of what schools across the state will be dealing with this school year. Cases in Inyo County have risen sharply over the last week. And yesterday, the school district told parents that, out of precaution, they're going to start with distance learning, just really based on the concerns that if the state was actively adding counties to their monitoring list at this moment, that they would be on that list.
Yeah, it just goes to show it is really hard to plan for this academic year. Now, as you mentioned, Bishop kind of had a change of plans, but as you reported, this was just one of a couple of places throughout the state where these counties had actually met the threshold set by Governor Gavin Newsom, where the infection rate was low enough that schools could in fact reopen. Do you have any sense of where in California they will actually be opening their doors to students and having campus classes actually going on?
Absolutely. So the vast majority of students in the state, 97% of our 6.1 million K-12 students are going to be starting the school year under distance learning, simply because their schools are in counties that are seeing rising cases, that are on the state's monitoring list, and just don't have the green light from the state to open up physically. But there are counties, El Dorado County, east of Sacramento, has half a dozen school districts that are planning to open up in person. Upper Lake Unified in Lake County in Northern California had its first day of school today with students returning to class in person. There are communities, rural communities across the state that are moving forward with the plans. They do have the green light. And they're going to be the first schools in the state to really offer examples of, how in-person instruction is going to look like. And it's going to look a lot, different with kids' class sizes of 10 students, hybrid scheduling, where kids are going to school 2 days a week or part of the week and then learning the rest of the week from home.
And of course, just in recent days alone, we've seen more information surface. For example, the schools in Georgia that reopened their campuses, and there have been positive cases of coronavirus both among students and among faculty. A recent report that showed across the country in the last 2 weeks of July, 97,000 kids who have tested positive with coronavirus. So can you tell us a bit more about, you explain, there's going to be this hybrid schedule, maybe kids only come to school a couple days a week. When they are there on campus and in these places where school is actually happening, on the property, what other steps and precautions are being taken to make sure that people stay as safe and healthy as possible?
Right. And, primarily that begins with social distancing and lowering class sizes to the point where, it is feasible to have a cohort of 10, 11 students in a classroom spaced apart. It means wearing face coverings, which is something that the state is now requiring students in grades 3 through 12 and recommending of our youngest students to do. And it means, teachers wearing protective coverings. I spoke with folks in the bishop community that, again, were very adamant in opening up physically in some form. And, they are installing plexiglass. They're having hand washing stations installed across campus. There's, arrows in the hallways directing traffic, in one way. It's going to look different. And the images that we've seen so far from the first day of school in communities in Lake County, just show students in classrooms that, frankly, are a lot more emptier than we're accustomed to seeing.
And as you mentioned, at any point in time, things could happen, and that might change the situation as it did with Bishop Union High School. Do you have any sense from these schools? Have they set a threshold of, okay, we'll open our campuses, but if we get to fill in the blank point, then we're going to go strictly virtual, or is it just kind of wait and see?
We're seeing an incredible variance in terms of how schools are navigating, this very big picture question of, when and how are we going to bring students back in person? And some of that, even though there are schools in these 20 counties that, as of this moment, are not on the state watch list, I would say a majority of those schools have opted to begin with distance learning, and with the hopes of phasing in some sort of in-person instruction, either out of apprehension that they're going to eventually, and their county is eventually going to end up on the state monitoring list, or just the sheer fact that they don't have the logistics hammered out for or the resources to offer in-person instruction. Mariposa County Unified, another school district that we featured in our reporting, is in that position. They're in a county that has the autonomy to open up their schools, but they decided to not do so simply because they don't have enough bus drivers to do the additional routes that are going to be required of maintaining social distancing on school buses.
It is a brave new world that we are heading into. Ricardo Cano, thank you so much for telling us what is happening throughout the state.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex.